This is the Business Storytelling Show, a top global marketing podcast listened to in more than 100 countries, live streamed on social media, and Christoph Trapp chats with industry leaders to help your company tell better business stories. Here's today's episode.
Hey, business storytellers, how's everyone doing? Today we want to talk about what is the future of content marketing. And this is always an interesting topic to me because, we can all predict what's going to happen. We can all think about, but it's really based in, today, what we know today. I mean, who would have predicted 3 years ago that AI would become so prevalent? Who would have predicted that the metaverse, is that still a thing? Are people still talking about the metaverse? It came and went like in no time, right? So just a very interesting topic to talk about that today. And I am joined by George Chasiotis. He runs this agency right here at the bottom. You can check it out. And content marketing expert, talks a lot about agile content marketing, the future of content marketing. So I'm interested to hear his take. And he's joining me, I believe, from somewhere in Europe, but he can tell us himself. George, welcome to the show.
Hello, Christoph. Nice to meet you, and I'm excited to be here. Actually, we came back to Greece a few weeks ago. We were touring Europe for the last almost 2 years now. Stayed in 15 countries for a bit over a month with my wife and son. And now we are taking a break from this. And yeah, I'm excited to be here and discuss content marketing.
That's fantastic, traveling around the world to see it as a family. And then, of course, you're probably working more than you would probably want to while you're in some beautiful place. Now, let's talk about the future of content marketing. Like what comes top of mind is what's next with AI, right? I mean, AI certainly has a lot of potential. There's a lot of problems too, and we've talked about that topic, ad nauseum on here probably. But like top of mind, what are like the top things that content marketers need to think about to stay relevant?
To think about the future, I would start this sort of mental exercise by thinking about the present and maybe even the past and like what led us here. So if we think about the present, the situation right now is as follows. Basically, we have a lot of content that's been produced by companies. And before I continue any further, let me just caveat that by saying that we mostly have experience with SaaS companies, software as a service. Things may be different in other industries, like more traditional industries like construction and whatnot. But what we can see right now is that a lot of content has been produced already, right? Because in the past, publishing velocity was one of the most important things for getting out there as fast as possible to get results as quickly as possible. We have changes in search, which is a very big part of what content marketers do and how they are able to justify their presence essentially in an organization and the work they do. And with the introduction of AI overviews, which back when it was first introduced in May of 2023, it was called Search Generative Experience (SGE). Now it's called AI overviews. This changes things a bit. It may not be as big of a change as we initially thought, but it's a change nevertheless. And of course, that's one part of it. We also have the integration and the presence of, websites like Reddit, Quora, and other forum-like websites in search, which obviously takes away traffic from websites and brands, which is something that concerns or should concern content marketers. We also have AI, right? The introduction of AI, which came into the mainstream more or less 2 years ago, and there was a promise of AI, which I think, intimidated many people back then, myself included, right? And I'm connected to many other agency owners, and I can tell you that, people were, I don't want to use the word terrified, but they were like concerned or uneasy with the introduction of AI, because the promise was so big, and the messaging was so bold that, yeah, I mean, obviously this thing is going to take, to wipe out an entire industry, right? um, I see, though, that regarding AI, things have started to change. The sentiment is different, maybe because the promise of AI is not, entirely a false promise, because we are in the very early stages of that technology being deployed and adapted. But let's just say that it's a tool. It has use cases, but it's not, maybe as good as we thought it would be. But it has use cases, and it's certainly, part of the tech stack, or should be. Um, so we have different things that happen right now. We have a lot of content that's been produced, and so companies need to start thinking about maintaining these content inventories that they have. Unless we are talking about a new category, there isn't, much to say, really. Or unless we are talking about a company or a product, where the topic, or the topics that it covers, are so broad that, you can go on and on and on for many years. So a lot of content out there. Many of the things that needed to be written and produced, they've already been written and produced. We have changes in search, maybe not as like significant as we initially thought, but it's happening. We have AI. We'll see about how that plays out in the long term. In the short term, it seems that it is a great tool, but the promise of, this is going to replace human content writers, content marketers, sorry, I don't see how that's possible for the time being, at least. And of course, many other things like, on a macro level, macroeconomic level, things have been a bit rocky, if I could put it that way, in the last couple of years. And so many companies sort of pull back with their marketing more broadly, and content marketing more specifically, investments. And also something that we don't, talk about as much, the buyer. We have an archetype, or like a mental image of who the buyer for most SaaS companies is. And I think that based on that mental image, we try to map out all the different touch points of the journey. We have to start thinking about, the new generation of buyers, which is Gen Z, and start to thinking about like the new touch points we need to introduce to be able to meet these people where they are, and develop a relationship with them. And so all that is to say, a very long answer to say that, there are many factors that play out right now. And in that environment, I would say content marketers have to find a way to basically keep their seats at the table.
Yeah.
And yeah.
What's interesting to me is, I mean, first of all, content marketing, we know it works in SaaS, and but there's also a lot of companies like they kind of struggle to even get the thing going. And then there's new things, and you have to try new things. And there was companies that laid off writers when AI came around, because they were like, oh, AI can just write it. Technically that is true, but it's total garbage. As you already said, it's not going to be strategic, it's not going to be unique and whatever. Why do you think there is areas where there's nothing left to be said? I don't know that I 100% agree with that, because there's always a unique spin on everything, right? I mean, like, an episode on the future of content marketing it could go a gazillion different ways, right? I mean, we could come up with like some crazy thing on what we think the future will be. And then at some point we'll go, well, that might be a little bit too far down the road. That's like science fiction. But you know what I mean? Like there's always something unique to say about every topic. But I think where companies miss the boat is they don't bring their unique stories, right? They don't bring their experience. They just write some generic piece of crap article that's already been written about. Is that I mean, are we on the same page, or are we? Do you disagree with that wildly?
I don't disagree with you. Just my line of thinking here is that let's take a category that's mature, CRM. Okay, if we think about CRMs, some brands that come to mind, HubSpot, Salesforce, and whatnot. Now, especially HubSpot, they sort of wrote and practiced the content marketing playbook of the past by focusing on the blog and talking about all topics around CRMs and sales and customer success and whatnot, customer support and customer success and whatnot. So they talked about many different things. Now, obviously, it's not a static topic, right? You can talk about system of records, which is what the CRM is, in the era of LLMs and how that will change and transform CRMs, right? But I would say that most companies are a bit hesitant, or maybe there is some pushback because it also goes against to their business model. I mean, as a CRM, you don't want to hear as much that LLMs may replace one day system of records, right? Plus, most topics are not as dynamic. Now, there are many other categories where there's so much to say because things are moving fast and the topic is evolving. But that's not the case in most categories. And when I say that most of the content has been written, I mostly think of categories that are a bit more not stagnant, but not as dynamic. CRM, is obviously one of them. Email marketing is another one. I don't think that there has been significant innovation on the email marketing front, in the last, I don't know, 5, 10, 15 years maybe. But obviously, there is a lot of content to be written for companies operating in new categories. For example, derivative AI products, right? Or companies operating in categories where the topic and the category itself is very fluid and very dynamic. So there are things to say. But of course, your point is also right. You can find many different angles and unique perspectives to discuss, even for something as static as like this is just a CRM, a system of record, right? There's nothing exciting about it. So I think that the truth is somewhere in the middle, and as long as companies stay creative, yeah, they can keep discussing things and rolling out new content.
Yeah, I mean, the HubSpot blog is of course very interesting. I mean, they got on that boat really early in the game, right? So they have a lot of content, and that's one of the things too, is when you get in there early, that's certainly a disadvantage, and has been a disadvantage if you write about different things. What do you think is the immediate short term? I mean, like next year, 2025 is just around the corner here, and next week we're going to take a Thanksgiving break. That's how close we are already, at least here in the United States. From the Business Storytelling Show in episode 704 and 5 and 6, I think we'll be back the week after that. But what do we need to focus on in 2025? Like, what should be top of my list when it comes to being ready, future-proofing, the business, the content strategy, my content marketing? What's top of mind for you?
I would say that for SaaS companies, many were like rushed or quick to declare SEO dead and basically reallocate, engage in discussions about reallocating their budgets on different channels and whatnot. But the truth is that organic search is such a big channel, and it, as long as the incentive is there, the incentive is traffic, of course. I can't see a reason why you should stop doing it. Having said that, you may want to change the way you do it. I don't think that the cookie cutter, copycat content approach will, keep giving. So you definitely have to make some changes there. That's one thing. Keep doing it though, and also diversify as much as you can, and invest in other channels, right? So that's one thing. Another thing I would say is, depends, of course, on the type of business. If you have, if you're a martech solution, or a tool for salespeople, nowadays they call it GTM, because sales is a forbidden word, or not politically correct, at least. So if you are a GTM tool, of course, you need to be on LinkedIn, right? So you have to, as detrimental as it may sound, you have to find where your customers are and engage with them, either on LinkedIn or Twitter, X, Reddit, whatever, right? And another thing that I see, and I think we will see more and more, is, if you see the playbook of this company called Clay, which sort of created a network of content creators, or affiliates, basically, and created content with them and equipped them with the tools to create good content and talk about Clay online. I think that's something we will see more of, and a very small sign of this is part of the future, and B2B was basically late compared to B2C, which is practicing influencer marketing for a while now. You see platforms like Passion Fruit coming up and growing, because companies understand that they need to put a face behind their promos, their marketing campaigns, their product launches, the messages they want to communicate, and so on. So I think that we will see creators being a form of distribution more and more in the future. And last but not least, I would say that obviously companies need to understand that, again, detrimental, but they have to put a face in front of the brand, right? In most cases, that face is the company's CEO. But I would say that a company should have different personas that appeal to different audiences and discuss different things, right? And if we accept the fact that, in many cases, companies start building these media engines and operate as media organizations, basically. Take SEMrush as an example, and the acquisitions they make on that end. Media companies have media personalities, right? And so SaaS companies should develop these media personalities internally and have them talk to their audience about different things, and try to cultivate a relationship with them and whatnot. That was the last one. And one more thing, which is tied to the first one, the one I talked about on regarding search. Diversification is key, and now it's the time that content marketers get creative. Now it's not the time to play it safe and just go on easy mode. You have to get out there and squeeze your creative juices and experiment, and basically try to ditch the playbook of the past, which was blog first and organic search first, and try to do more things, right? Because text will never stop being important. It's just how you present it and how you distribute it and what mediums you choose to tell your story and communicate your messages.
I mean, I just have to ask, why is sales now a dirty word?
I don't know, but I notice that. I mean, I know, it's burnt out. I mean, who wants to get messages from salespeople? Who wants to? That's why they call it GTM these days, and I think that it makes sense, even though GTM is another way of saying sales basically. But yeah, I think
Probably because there's been so many salespeople or even demand marketers, who they just send annoying emails, like so annoying. Because I don't mind being sold to, if I need the thing, if I need the product, right? Like I don't care at all. Like, I mean, I have somebody reach out and say, hey, take a look at this. It fits here and here and here. I mean, I just actually send over some times for a demo on the product. And I'm like, yeah, I totally want to hear about this. That sounds completely useful for what I do. And I want to hear more about it. Now, I'm not going to spend 5 hours on sales calls about it, but like, yeah, give me a demo, show me what it is for 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, but definitely. So why do content marketers, why are they so, I think a lot of content marketers are like, play it safe, this is how we do it, blah, blah, blah. How do they, maybe in 1 minute here or so, how do they break out of that mold and try different things and don't play it so safe without costing them their own job, so to speak?
I had a discussion with an former marketing exec at like very popular SaaS companies, and I was discussing this exact thing. And what he told me changed my perspective, because I've never been in house, and what he told, at least in a serious company, and what he told me changed my perspective regarding that. Because what he told me is that people working in house, especially in marketing, are just trying to not get fired, right? Not do anything stupid, not bring a bad like vendor partner, be able to like justify the ROI of their like initiatives, and so on, right? So if we take that as a like as granted, and not granted, but if we accept that's true, this is how things are, then I would say that it makes sense that they play it safe, right? But I think that if we think about examples of content marketers who sort of stood out, they didn't stood out because they did what everyone else was doing, right? They stood out because they did something different, and obviously this didn't cost them their job. On the contrary, they had way more opportunities than they ever expected, right? So I would say that in-house content marketers should try to strike a balance. Yes, there's a lot of uncertainty in the market, and yes, things are tough for marketing departments. Even though I'm personally optimistic about marketing in 2025, but unless you want to be there and just play it safe and like do what everyone else is doing and never really achieve something remarkable, you have to change. And now it's a very good time with all these changes and tools to do that. And yeah.
I mean, and what a concept to work to not get fired. I mean, horrible. Like, let's make a difference. Let's stand out. Really quickly, like 20 seconds here. So, I mean, how do people connect with you? Who should reach out? Perfect client, that kind of thing.
So best place, LinkedIn, George Chasiotis. Try to connect there and say hi. Tell me where you came from, and from my LinkedIn you can find everything else.
Fantastic. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for the insights, and we're out.
Thanks for tuning in. Please rate and review the Business Storytelling Show on your favorite podcast platform, and subscribe so you don't miss the next episode.